So this is exactly what happens, right? A lot of people talk about things, and then that's as far as it ever gets. We have 65,000 thoughts a day, roughly 54 million bits of information a second. Now, it's a lot of information that's unconsciously left out. If we're not aware of all this shit that's being fed to us, then who's running us? The only thing you should be worried about when your birthday comes around is if you're in the same position as you were last year.
Yes.
Most people after the age of 25, they won't create drastic change in their life until they've had a severe traumatic event. The people around you that are controlling your environment, they're in control of you. How could I have got to this point in my life where I'm trying to kill myself? Completely surrounded by drugs. Like, if I had listened to what everybody else told me, I would probably still be a carpenter. So when you gave your word and you committed, you did feel like it.
Yeah.
Now you don't. Too bad. This is not a conversation of I'm going to choose myself. No, that's fucking bullshit. That's choosing comfort. People love to say that they've got anxiety, which we can talk about that if you want. 9 times out of 10, it's complete bullshit.
How long did it take you to make your first million? If you're new here, my name is Nelson, and I'm the host of the Creative Grid podcast, a platform committed to help creative entrepreneurs become the best possible version of themselves, find inner grit, and eventually reach success. We normally have extraordinary individuals as guests, and today is not an exception. Today's guest is a speaker, a mentor, a podcaster, content creator. This man does it all, and he has something that we all want: financial freedom. Please welcome the legend, Morgan T. Nelson.
Hey.
How are you, brother?
Mate, muy bien.
Nice Spanish. You know some Spanish as well?
Doing very good. Thank you so much for having me on. This is exciting. I always love this. I love the in-person stuff. I love when people like you, because there's a million podcasts out there. It was about 2.9 million podcasts in the world. It's very rare to find people who take it seriously and really put in effort to create something like this. So I'm excited, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to have you. And this is a testament to how when you start pursuing the things that you love, you start attracting the kind of people that you're into, you know, and the type of people that you want to have relationships with and that type of thing. Because we don't know each other. This is the first time we're meeting or anything. And I just happen to be posting about the podcast. You reach out like, hey, I think I can bring some value to the audience. I'm like, dude, exactly the type of person that I wanted to have on. And guess what? Here we are. So like, that's just a tiny example of how pursuing the things that you love will bring you great gifts that sometimes, you know, you're not even accounting for them. They just happens to be, you become a magnet for
100%.
it.
You know why? How long have you had this podcast for?
This one is just starting. You're episode maybe 11 or something?
I love it. So this is exactly what happens, right? So a lot of people talk about things. So a lot of people talk about an idea, talk about a goal, a dream, or whatever, and then that's as far as it ever gets. It's just talk. Because what usually happens after, you know, a commitment, I wouldn't even call it a commitment. What happens usually after some sort of declaration, like January 1, I start a podcast this year, and they want to do it. Soon what follows is fear. Because people, you know, it's unknown. It's really unknown. It's people who go, shit, I've never done it. Who am I? And then all the things start to pop up. What if people are going to think of me? And blah, 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 blah. What if I put it out and no one even listens to me? And yada, yada, yada. And then usually people will go, what happens is their brain will justify to them why they shouldn't do it. And so they rationalize, which sucks because it seems really real to us. So for example, if we go, I'm going to do a podcast. And then we go, oh, but we can't do that. It happened to me. I delayed starting my podcast for nearly 2 years. Because when I thought about starting it, my brain goes, but Morgan, starting a podcast is going to take a lot of time. Are you sure you have enough time right now? And I go, fuck yeah, nah, brain, you're right. I don't have much time. And I delayed it and delayed it and delayed it. What I realized was that was just a limiting belief. It was the imposter syndrome, the dream stealers. But what happens is, once I got really serious, is when we made the declaration, the real commitment, the real decision, like the 100% in, things start to happen for us. And you know, you've probably had the exact same thing, but you know, I've interviewed hundreds of people. I've interviewed broke people, millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires, and at some point along their journey to get to where they were, they had to make a 100% decision. It's just like getting married. Imagine if, like you said, you got a girlfriend, right? Imagine if she comes home and you say to her, hey baby, I'm 99% sure you're the woman of my dreams. Let's get married. She's probably going to tell you to fuck off, right? She'll be like, what do you mean? But then you're like, I'm dead serious. I'm 99% woman. Like, come on, take me seriously. She's like, how can I take you seriously? Well, what else do you want? She wants the 1%. She wants the 100%, the commitment.
Yes.
And so does our dreams. So does our goals. So does all the things that we want to create. Because without that, the universe, the God, spirit, whatever, it's not going to work the other way for us. So you said, you're like, well, I just started to attract people that want to come to the show. Because Steve Jobs said it. We can't connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect the dots looking backwards. So a lot of people, I think, get stuck in their tracks of creation or what they want to do because they think of a goal. They think of a dream. Like we get the download. I want to create this. They get the vision. But then for whatever reason, they talk themselves out of it because they go, well, how am I going to do it? I don't know these people. Da, 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 da. But the how is so irrelevant. The only things that are important is the what and the why. But if we make 100% commitment in there, what happens is then the universe, God, spirit, will go, here you go. But it'll provide one or two things. It'll either say, here's your next step. Here's the things that are going to help you guide the way. So it's going to connect the dots for you. And then one day you can look back and be like, well, that's how you build a successful podcast. But you didn't know it in the beginning. Yeah. Or it's going to provide you distractions to test you how serious you were about the goal you declared.
Yes.
And I think learning the difference of that is nothing but experience. But I'll look back and be like, well, I picked that thing and that led me the wrong way. That's the distraction. So next time I'm going to have more awareness to say no to that shit and say yes to the things that I want. So I love what you're doing.
Yeah, no, same, bro. I consume a bit of your content beforehand just to have an idea of who you were and all this stuff. And I love it. I love the mission that you're on and all these things. So I'm very excited for this conversation. We're just getting warmed up, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, for people that have no idea who you are, can you give us a backstory of who you are and how do you become the person that you are today?
Okay, short story or long story?
Give us enough information for people to be like, wait, is this guy legit? Because a lot of, that always happens, we said we're going to get into money and all these things. So I want you to give enough information for people to understand, like, you were not born with this. You have to work for it. You have to earn it.
100%. So look, growing up, I didn't have this full rags to riches story. We were good growing up. We were never fantastic, but Dad worked, Mum stayed home, she looked after us. They did the best they could for us. It was just very normal. It was very normal. The unfortunate thing about that, though, is in Australia, it's very easy to be normal. Like, probably in Venezuela, right? It's like, if you don't at least try and hustle or have a goal, then it's very easy to probably like what's the population in Venezuela?
Like close to 30 million.
30 million, right? But a very small country.
Not that small, but yeah, it's everything is compacted on the big city,
So the problem here is, right, there's so many other countries in the world, and I use the US as an example. Every time I go to America, I meet people, and the average person has 2 or 3, sometimes 4 jobs, because that's their normal, and if they don't have that, they won't be able to survive. In Australia, you can have a minimum wage job, still live in a nice house near the water, go out to Burleigh Pavilion every weekend with the girls or the guys, but go out to dinner once or twice a week and still have a brand new car that you're paying off in your finance. Yeah. That's normal. Yeah. So people don't like it. Why would you want to reach extraordinary if you have to face adversity and blah, 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 all right? So we grew up like that. So I learned just that, right? I really learned, play it safe, play it normal. This is the best way to do it, yada, yada. But there was just something along the way that I saw that, and I think probably mum and dad, or it was always the conversation of, we can't afford that, we don't have the money for that. And I think somewhere along the way I would have just decided that I don't want that growing up. It took me a while to get that. But, I went all the way to year 12. I wasn't enjoying school per se, like the classes and stuff. I didn't like it at all. I didn't want to read To Kill a Mockingbird again. I was like, how is this going to help me get women or get money? Like as a 16-year-old boy, and I would argue the most important things in our world is making money, our relationships, right? And probably our health. Yeah. They're probably the 3 most important things. Yeah. And I was always just thinking, how is this going to help me be successful, get women, and be super happy and healthy in life? This ain't going to fucking do it. Yeah. So I was nearly failing nearly every single subject. It's like borderline. And they gave me this book in year 10, actually. They said, hey, Morgan, you're 15 years old now. It's about time you set up and you start thinking about what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Because you're 15. I was like, well, okay, I guess that's what we do, right? So I go to the back of the book and I'm flicking down to the bottom where the top income is, and I'm like, $495,000 a year. I want that job. Mechanical engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, Morgan, you're not smart enough to study that one, because in order for you to go to university and study that, you need to be getting these grades right now so that you can study this and this in year 11 and 12, and you're just not going to be able to get that, so pick something else. I said, okay, next one. Electrical engineer. And they're like, see what I mean? Yeah. You're not getting it, right? I'm like, fuck, all right, well, what should I do then? They go, look, we just recommend go do something with your hands, trade time for money, something like that. Be a tradie pretty much. So I left school thinking that I wasn't smart enough and I wasn't good enough, and I'd never really amount to anything. All I could ever really do is trade my time for money and be a tradie or do the Aussie battler thing, right? And so I left school. I saw all my other friends go to university and start studying things that I know they didn't want to, but they only did it because they thought it was going to pay them lots of money.
Yes.
And one thing for me, I always thought about when I was younger, I'm like, tomorrow's not guaranteed. So I want to make sure that what I do right now is making me happy and I'm enjoying it, or it's at least fueling something incredible for my short-term future. Yeah. Right? Like, I believe in short-term sacrifice for long-term gain, but I balance it going, I check in quite regularly. Hey, if I was to die tomorrow, would I be okay with that? And quite often the answer is, I'm fine. Right? Very, 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 very rarely I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. Because every day I'm doing things I love. Yeah. But anyway, finished school. I got a job as a apprentice carpenter, doing what I thought I had to do on the job site, surrounded by people that are all like that, So toxicity, negativity. I was going out on weekends, getting into fights with people. Like, I was just crazy. Like, got arrested multiple times, drinking all the time. And then we went away working out north where we had to do it. So in order to keep our job and keep my apprenticeship going, we had to go away. And what happened when we were away was the environment that I got myself around was filled with nothing but negativity, violence, toxicity, depression, drugs, alcohol. And before I knew it, here I am 19 years old, drinking every single day, then using drugs to go to sleep at night every single day, because that's what everybody was doing. Drugs to go to sleep at night every single day, drugs to wake up in the morning, drugs to keep you going during the day, and then more drugs at night time to come back down. And I was 19. This went on for about 8, 9, 10 months. And I was just in this absolute spiral where I had this thing called anxiety for the first time. I didn't know what it was. 10 years ago, it wasn't really. Now it's like a hot topic. People love to say that they've got anxiety, which we can talk about that if you want. 9 times out of 10, it's complete bullshit.
Oh, but I'll tell you about that and depression. Don't get me started.
But this shit was happening, but it just got to the point. It got to the point where I remember like this. I was seeing this girl, and it was probably the only bit of like real happiness I had. And she left me out of the blue, and it was just like one thing after another. And then I just thought that it's so painful right now in my life. It's gonna be more painful to stay here than it would be to leave. So 19 years old, I tried to kill myself. It just completely had no other option. What's what I thought had no other option. But what I decided was, I started to sort of check in, and I'm like, how could I have got to this point in my life where I'm trying to kill myself? Completely depressed, completely just surrounded by drugs. I'm not happy at all. This has been about 10 months now of complete unhappiness. But a couple of years ago, I was in complete ecstasy and joy. It was amazing. What was the difference? And the first thing that came to my mind was the people I'm around. And I'm like, well, when I was around these people doing these sorts of things, I was happy. When I'm around these people, I'm unhappy. Doesn't take a genius to figure that one out. I'm like, I'm going to leave. And I completely left my job. And I went on a bit of a spiral for a few more years trying to figure things out. And then what I started to look on Instagram. You know how when you pull up Instagram and you see those people that just have a cool life? I used to look at them and be like, fucking, easy for them, blah, blah, blah. Parents gave it to you. You have no idea. Like, victim. Yeah. And then one day I just decided, hey, well, what if I reach out to this guy and ask him how he did it? Yes. And it was one of my really good friends now, one of my best mates, Reese. And because we actually met each other in Prague when we were 18 years old, and we just weren't that connected until I reached back out. And then what happens is when people are really rich and really happy, they tend to want to help other people. I've only ever met rich people that didn't want to help me because they were miserable and unhappy themselves. But every other person I've met who's rich and happy will do everything they can to try and help you get up to that level as well, because they see a perspective of life that you can't yet, and they just want you to see it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so he sort of helped me get some other things sort of happening. He introduced me to this online business at 21 years old. I had no idea what it was. I thought it was a scam. I thought it was a cult. I thought it was all this shit. And And a lot of broke people around me were telling me the same thing. Like, oh, it's a cult, it's a scam, it's a blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then I just looked at what's real. I tend to not look at what people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to just look at where's the actual facts in
The
life.
facts,
Yeah,
the
I want to look at like
objectives.
what's the tangible things right here in front of me.
Yeah.
And I started meeting people that were using this online business to create freedom in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that were millionaires at 26, traveling, going to all these countries together and shit. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck even if it's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I started and I sucked ass at it for so long. But I stayed the course. I stayed committed. I started getting around people that actually had the life I wanted. And what I started to learn, I noticed was my brain was starting to mold. My philosophy was starting to change.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 23 years old, I was making probably, I don't know, $900 a week, something like that, residually, $1,000 a week.
Mm-hmm.
And which is the key, right? Because it's residual
What
income.
exactly were you doing to get that money?
So it was with this online business. So it was a network marketing company.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think about it all the time. Like if I had listened to what everybody else told me, I would probably still be a carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
Because that introduced me to personal development.
Mm-hmm.
That introduced me to a world that I didn't think was normal.
Mm-hmm.
And it really changed my perspective of what normal was. See,
Yeah.
in my model of the world before that was normal was you get a job. And if you get a job, you got to be grateful for it because not everybody gets a job. Total bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get it, work hard, work you up the corporate ladder or whatever. And then one day when you're 80 years old, you retire.
Mm-hmm.
Because the government's looked after you. And they've got you a superannuation. Right? Because they don't let that inflate.
Yeah.
Right? There's no such thing as inflation with your super. Right? And yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine just believing that the government wants to take care of you, that the government actually cares that much about you. You know, like,
One thing the government's done very well. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just a realist.
yeah.
They've done a really good job at conditioning people's minds
Yeah.
for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Look what has happened in the last few years.
Yeah.
So people have this thing called, in psychology, it's called cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
They believe something so strong,
Mm.
when something else happens in front of them, they can't actually understand it or fathom it consciously because it's so against what they actually thought was
Yeah.
real. So when the government's doing all this shit, as if we're like, you can't leave your fucking house for months and months and months, as if that's for us.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing on earth. But people are actually, I better get 14, jabs because because they say so. And I'm not saying, I know people probably listen that did that. And it's something they feel bad about. But what I'm saying is one thing they have gotten right is learning how to condition the people's minds. So what we must do is learn and be so fucking aware that the information that's coming out of our mind, 99% of the time is not probably helpful or useful, and we've got to learn to detach from it and analyze. Like literally, Jim Rohn used to say it, we've got to stand guard at the front of our mind every single day, because there's we have 65,000 thoughts a day roughly. We have somewhere between 8 million and 54 million bits of information a second that comes into our mind. Now our mind can only process about 134 pieces of information per second. Now it's a lot of information that's unconsciously left out. If we're not aware of all this shit that's being fed to us, then who's running us? You're sure as fuck not in control of your life. You're in control. The people around you that are controlling your environment, they're in control of you. Right? So that happened for me for so long until I started to really sort of break out. And then 23 years old, I remember I was going to the job site. I was going to my job site and I was just having a few like really shitty days in a row at work, and I'm like, man, fuck this. And then I looked at how much 1 week I actually got paid like $4,000 or something from my business, right? It wasn't every single week, but it was like a big week. I was like, but it saw me, this is the potential. I've been doing this part-time. And then that week I quit. Said to my boss, hey man, I'm gonna quit. He's like, oh, what are you gonna do? I said, I think I'm gonna move to Mexico. He's like, what do you mean, for how long? Forever. Indefinitely. And that's exactly what I did. A few weeks later, I packed everything up. I got rid of everything I had here, got a one-way ticket to Mexico, moved to Mexico, and I was 23 years old, living in the beach of Mexico, and I had full financial freedom because that's what I set up. And I want to be clear on this. Like, a lot of people think financial freedom is just making a lot of money. I'm telling you right now, I was making like $900 a week. That's not fantastic at all. But I only needed about $400 a week to live. And I had the quality of life. I surfed every day, had tacos every day. That's the life. And that's all I wanted.
We'll sketch or surf together.
Yeah. That's like actual financial freedom. But then I had that time, then I grew that into a 6-figure business. I become the top income earner in our whole company under 25 years old. So we grew like multiple 6-figure business. We did over 7 figures in sales every single year. Then when the pandemic started, everything just stopped, and it's made me reevaluate, which I think a lot of people did. And that's when I tapped in. I go, what was I really passionate about here? And it was helping people discover this as a vehicle to create their own freedom. But what I realized was I would give people the vehicle, and they would fuck it up. They would self-sabotage. They wouldn't turn up to the training. They would let their broke uncle, who's never made more than $60,000 a year, talk them out of it. And I'm like, this is just whack. Yeah. So what I realized was, what I really had a passion for was transforming people's minds. Because if I could transform their mind, then their actions and behavior will follow what they believe is true about themselves. So that's what I got really passionate about. And now we're building the top personal development company in Australia.
Yeah, awesome. So when you're doing these sales, what exactly were you selling?
It was a health and nutrition company. So pretty much, like, are you familiar like Herbalife and stuff like that? Same sort of business model, right? So pretty much the company, they just do everything for you. Now I'm not affiliated in network marketing at all anymore, but I always do tell people, if you've got no freaking idea what you're doing, go and do a 2-year apprenticeship in network marketing, because you'll learn for free, really, business basics, operations, sales, systems, leadership. You'll learn all these sorts of things, and you can fail forward without the risk. Now the amount of risk I put into my business to keep learning is crazy. But I learned so much through those years, and I still get paid every single week from it as well. I haven't touched a business in years, so it's a cool business model. But it was health and wellness products. We're just helping people get on all these products around the world.
Yeah, cool. So back then, just backtracking to the very difficult times where you consider like taking your life and all these things, what made it click for you? Because there's always that aha moment of like, wait, there is another path that I could go into bettering my life and actually believing that you can, right? So what was exactly that aha moment for you?
There was this little boy who was walking down the street. Little boy was walking down the street, and he was fed up with his life. And he was complaining, and and he complained all the time. And he complained so much that his parents were like, "We're gonna kick you out of the house because you just keep complaining, but you're not doing anything about it." And he's like, "Well, how do you expect me to do anything about my life when it's your fault?" And he's blaming the whole world. So he leaves, and he's walking down the street, kicking a can, a little stick, red knapsack on his corner. He's left home, and he hears this noise from over here, and the noise is like, "Roar, roar, 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 roar." He's like, what the fuck is that? And he keeps walking, and he hears it again, but now this time it's louder, and it's like, roar, 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 roar. He's crying. And he looks across, and he sees this old man sitting on the porch. And the noise is coming from his house, and the old man, the little boy, he walks up into the house, and he walks right up to the old man, and he says, "What is this noise coming from your house?" And he's like, "Well, let me show you." So he walks him through the house, and he walks out the back, and the noise is just so loud now. The noise is like, roar, 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 roar. And he looks over and he sees this dog sitting on the ground, crying and crying and howling and howling and howling. And the old man didn't look fazed at all. The little boy says to him, "Well, it's your dog." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What's wrong with your dog?" He says, "He's sitting on a nail." And the little boy's like, "Then why doesn't he just get off the nail?" And the old man says, "Because it doesn't hurt enough for him yet." You see, I was going through life for years complaining. The victim. This is wrong, you're wrong. It's not me though, it's not me. This should be better. I should have been treated better. Blah, 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 blah. But eventually, to create drastic change in my life, in anyone's life, we've got to, unfortunately, wait for it to be painful enough. And when that moment comes, where it's painful enough, where we draw a line in the sand and we say, never again, I will not have this, that's when we create massive change in our life. We'll create huge changes most of the time. So there's two types of people. Up until the age of 25, psychologists actually say it's quite easy for under 25 to make drastic change in their life. They can see a clearer vision of their future. They can get hope, and they can be like, it can be better. And they can be inspired by that and actually find, not all the time, but find strength within and be like, I want that. After 25, it's a bit harder. Most people after the age of 25, they won't create drastic change in their life until they've had a severe traumatic event. For example, somebody who's 50 kilos overweight neglects it for their whole life. Then when they're 55, they have a heart attack. It wakes them up. They go on a health journey, never change. Their life's never the same again.
Yeah.
But why didn't they do it 20 years ago? Because it didn't hurt enough for them yet. It wasn't serious enough for them yet.
Yes.
So for me, what happened was I started to really evaluate, like, I think it was the time when I really tried to actually take my own life. And I was like, I evaluated after, I was like, how did it get here? And for me, that was enough.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was probably like 1 or 2 weeks after that, I was like, fuck this. I don't care about my apprenticeship anymore. I don't care about anything anymore. The only thing I care about is being happy. So I actually left and I came back down to Australia, and I'm like, what am I going to do for money? I'm just going to start my own lawn mowing business. That's what I did. I had a ute, I went and bought some shit, and I started doing that because I'm like, I don't care about everything else. What's important for me is to enjoy now, within reason. So yeah.
Yeah, because that's all we have in the end, right? The now. The future is not promised, and the past is history. So that we have to maximize living in the moment. And that's so true what you were saying about that bottom moment, because it happened the same exact for me. My life was completely trapped in the system, in the matrix, as some will call it. And, like I couldn't see past it because I didn't have enough pain for it. So pain these days, I believe, is like one of the best things that could happen to you, whether it's physical, from the gym, from training hard and breaking those muscle fibers and grow more, or getting punched in the face sometimes. If you do, I do martial arts. So, sometimes you need to get punched in the face to get to understand who you are and how to be tough and relentless and be the kind of person that gets up when you get knocked down, So same is for money, same is for business, same is for relationship. I believe that pain is one of those really good driving factors for you to improve.
Yeah, and people need to understand it properly though, right? Because like, let's say if they're like, well, pain's good, so I'm going to harm myself or I'm going to punish myself. Now, I also don't believe in that.
Yeah.
And there's some people who are like, I've got to, like, let's think of like Navy SEALs, Marines. It's like punish. And yes, it's good for discipline and stuff. But if we're talking in the category of, building self-esteem and building a successful quality of life, I don't believe in bashing yourself daily and having current pain now to grow. But we can experience short moments of pain, knowing that we'll eventually have long versions of ease.
Exactly.
But here's the thing: the pain's gonna be here either way. People don't believe that though. People think, well, I'm gonna do what's easy right now because, so it's a lot easier. I tell you, I don't like going to the gym. Like
I hate going to the gym.
Exactly. I don't like lifting heavy shit and sweating. I'm like, I'd rather. That just sounds horrible. No. But I do it every single day because I understand, like, I want a strong body. So it's a lot easier for me to sit at home and do what's easy than to go to the gym. 100%. But if I sit at home and do nothing for 10 years straight, eventually I'll be fat and lazy and unhealthy. Then I'll have to be faced with some painful truth. Might have heart problems, might have health problems, might have, might be single, or whatever, right? So people think by avoiding what's hard now, they'll avoid it hard forever. No. They'll eventually get the compound effect of those choices, which is the big, hard lesson.
Yeah.
So there's going to be pain either way. There's either going to be pain of doing short-term sacrifices now, short-term disciplinary actions now, or there's going to be the pain of regret, or there's going to be the pain of suffering, or there's going to be the pain of being like, I can't believe I wasted the last 10 years of my life and I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. See, that's the pain that drives me. I always think ahead. I'm like, I want to make sure, like, I'm turning 30 this year. I'm so stoked. And I was catching up with people actually a few weeks ago, and it was someone's birthday. Somebody else turned 30. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, it's another year. So we're getting old. I said, the only thing you should be worried about when your birthday comes around is if you're in the same position as you were last year.
Yes, exactly.
I love my birthday.
Yeah.
Because I've always got more money.
Yeah.
Every year I'm getting richer and richer and richer. My life's just getting better.
Yeah.
Because I'm creating it.
Yeah.
Right? Life's not meant to be experienced. Life's meant to be created.
Yeah.
And most people think it's just, well, they just wake up and that whatever's there, I'm going to experience that today. No. Get up, create what you want to experience. Yeah. Right? But I don't even know where that question come from or what I was talking about.
No, you nailed it. You nailed it. And pain, like the way I refer to pain is like, if you have clarity as well of where you're heading and what do you want to become, yes, then you know what's the reward if you push through the pain. the thing is, most people won't do it. They can't handle the pressure. They think they, and this is something that fascinates me. Like the minute you start unlocking, because it's like an infinite game, you know, like when you go to a gym to start doing jiu-jitsu, you will suck. The first day you will get tapped by everyone, the small dude, the big dude, the medium-sized dude, the dude that looks like a nerd, whatever, everyone will tap you. A bunch of people will quit. But if you understand, you know, what's the journey and all these things, and you stick to it, eventually you will learn. Eventually you know that, oh, so if I position my body in this way, I can prevent them from do this, do that. This is the way I have to think, 3 moves ahead, all this stuff. So that's the thing. You have to go through the pain of getting tapped by everyone, but eventually you know what's the reward. If you start getting a little bit. So that's it. Why do you think that people give up? Why do people give up on their dreams? Why do people give up on trying to obtain financial freedom? Why do you think that's the common factor amongst most people?
I think for many reasons. I think reason number one is they don't have a vision. Mm-hmm. Like if they don't have a vision. If me and you are standing in a square room and I say, run a straight line to that corner of the room as fast as you can go, you'll start running. But then if I throw a chair down in front of you, what are you going to do? You probably just run around it. Mm-hmm. But you disobeyed what I asked you to do. I said run a straight line. You see, us as humans, if we have a clear vision of our end goal, we'll use our own problem-solving skills to figure out a way around any obstacles. Mm-hmm. So if we're staying in the same room and I say run a straight line anywhere in this room you want, go. You'll be like, well, where do I go, Morgan? So well, you're a smart person, figure it out. You'll just start dawdling, not too serious. And if I throw a chair out in front of you, most people will either stop completely or turn, they'll go a different direction. They'll change their mind. But imagine how many times they're doing that all day long. They're just going around in circles, change their mind, change your mind, change your mind, shine the object, shine the object, shine your mind. Because they've got no clear vision of their future that's purposeful and inspiring for them. That if they do have a vision, most times they might be pursuing someone else's vision or someone else's inspiration or what someone else thinks they should do. Right? I've interviewed people, this is just a gross generalization, but I've interviewed people who are like Chinese, especially, right? Or I've met people in more the Asian culture, and over there it's quite, their family is very, very strong, and they're like, this is what you're expected of you, pretty much. We want you to study this, you want to do this, you want to do this. And I've met many, and I'm like, who are you doing it for? You or your parents? Well, my parents, right? So a lot of people, they'll eventually give up. Or if they do get there, they're very unfulfilled because it's not for them. But the biggest thing is I think that they don't have a vision that's inspiring and fulfilling for them. It's probably reason number one. Because if we don't have a vision, it's not going to create excitement within inside of us. And it's not going to actually put us into action. The next thing I would say is lack of self-esteem. People don't have a high self-esteem or self-worth of doing it. And this is exactly why. Because they're waiting to just one day wake up and be like, oh, now I'm worthy. Doesn't happen like that. Self-worth comes from doing shit that's worthy of feeling worthy of. Yes. So when people, like if they just chill out and coast their whole freaking life and they go, okay, I'm going to build a business now. Your unconscious mind in your identity is probably not going to be too excited about that because it's like, well, where's our evidence of you ever accomplishing anything worthwhile in the past? You didn't even try to win those races at school. You didn't even try to make your bed growing up. You didn't even try to... In fact, that time when you said you're going to take the gym seriously and get up at 6 a.m. every single day, you couldn't even do that.
You didn't do it.
So why... This is the mind talk. Why would I believe you're going to become a millionaire, become financially free?
Exactly.
Right? So people think that, in order to create this huge success, that they've got to set these massive goals. And in fact, sometimes it's a matter of just going, I'm going to set some simple habits to start actually building some success, because success breeds success. So the more they give themselves little wins, they'll probably actually feel better about themselves and be like, fuck yeah, man. Like I'm getting that shit done. I'm getting that shit done. And like a lot of my events that I run, I don't measure the success off the results. I measure the success off what I've been able to do between the event starting and this present moment. Because getting runs on the board is actually the preparation, the fulfilling my word and getting there. That's what I feel good about. Whether or not one person comes or 100 people come, I feel good about that because I did the shit. Right? But a lot of people just they give up when it starts to get hard, or they don't do things that are actually worthy of feeling worthy of. So if they want to increase their self-worth, set goals, micro goals, and actually commit to them and achieve them. Because what happens in our mind is when dopamine gets released, we feel more confident, right? Like, you know, I've got a big pass of drugs, right? A big pass of doing drugs, right? You take a line of cocaine, dopamine is through your mind, and you're like, I can take on the world. Right? Or you get some drinks into you, like, finally, you know, that girl that you've been so scared to talk to for your whole life, like, I'm going to talk to her now. You feel confident, right? Gambling, sex, all these things produce these chemicals, the dopamine that makes us feel absolutely unstoppable. What happens is the more times we give ourselves the ability to actually win, okay, so when we win, it produces dopamine, which is confidence. But the more times we win, the more dopamine receptors actually get created in our mind, which means we can create more dopamine. But what's interesting is the more we lose, the less dopamine receptors that are created, they actually start to get deteriorated, the less dopamine that gets released out of our mind. So what that means is we can create our own upward spiral to success, or we can create our own downward spiral of self-sabotage by just doing the little tiny things daily. So sometimes people think that they get up at, if you say get up at 6, get up at 6. Because what's going to happen later on that day, you're going to feel better about yourself. That you committed, you did the thing you said you were going to do long after the feeling which you said it has gone, which in this day and age, a lot of people have a problem doing, especially in the conscious community, spiritual community. I'll go all day on these people because like paradoxically, they'll talk about integrity. You got to be integral to yourself. Choose yourself. Okay, I agree, bro. Choose yourself. Yeah, sure. But here's the thing. If you commit to somebody and you say, hey, I'll meet you at this time, and then 1 hour before meeting at that time, you don't feel like it, too bad. Because when you gave your word and you committed, you did feel like it. Now you don't. Too bad. This is not a conversation of I'm going to choose myself. No, that's fucking bullshit. That's choosing comfort. That's choosing the weak side. What you should be doing is actually going, oh, when I made the commitment, I'm going to stick to my word. Because what will happen after will be like, I did things that I didn't feel like doing in the moment just because I committed to what I said back then. We do this enough times, we'll wake up one day and actually be like, you know, I'm a person that gets shit done. So people ask me sometimes like, what's your strength? I'm like, I get shit done, man. Because I set goals, I just destroy them. But they started by little tiny things. I'm gonna set a goal and I'm gonna work out every day. That's it. I'm just gonna work out once a week, or I'm gonna do this, and they start to compound and bigger because the success cycle, I can just do more and more and more and more now. So I think the two biggest things why people talk themselves out of or creating it is they're not clear on their vision. They haven't got the self-worth, self-esteem, and last thing will probably be confidence. Right? Which is pretty much the exact same thing as everything I was just talking about. Building more confidence, do the things that you're going to feel confident about doing. People think that they can wake up one day. I just got my skydive license. Okay.
I'm thinking of getting it for my birthday. Actually,
it's lit.
Yeah, I've done it twice, and actually, my friend that you just met, he does skydiving. He has his license.
It's so fucking great. Like just throw yourself out of an airplane by yourself is just a different experience. It tells you a lot about self-trust. But the thing is, when I first started it, I thought I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna smash. It's gonna be easy. But day one, they sit us in a classroom and teach us all the theory. Here's all the things that can go wrong and how you can die and how people die and what and how that if you are going to save your life, this is what you need to do. But if that doesn't work, then you're pretty much fucked. 8 hours of that, I'm thinking, I'm not that confident anymore in this, right?
Second guessing,
no shit. I'm calling my girlfriend. I'm like, I don't know if I'm like, and I'm really checking in, thinking, is this fear? Or is this a gut instinct saying, don't do this? And I'm like, it's hard to tell because it's like, I'm like, I'm going to sleep and I'm going to decide tomorrow. Woke up next day. I said, here's what I know. I'm going to do one jump. I'm going to do one jump and I'll probably know after that because it may be, if it's fear and if it's a lack of confidence, I will know as soon as I hit the ground. Because all I need to do to overwrite both of those things is take 3 seconds of courage. If I can get myself up in the airplane, follow what they told me to do, and just go up, down, jump, the rest is going to figure itself out. So all I had to do was regulate my nervous system. 1, 2, 3, boom, out. The courage. There wasn't confidence to do that. It's the courage. And then when I hit the ground, I landed. I was like, yes! And now I jump out, do backflips and shit. And I'm just chilling. I'm like, oh, what? I'm out. And I just jump out because now I'm building the confidence again. Well, the confidence now.
Yeah.
So courage comes first. Confidence will follow.
Yeah.
So people really, if they ask themselves, well, why do I keep stopping in my goals? Get clear on your vision. Start accomplishing some shit that you actually committed to, and just count down from 3. 3, 2, 1, take a step of courage and actually just pick up that phone call, make that sales call.
Yeah.
Do whatever you need to do. Do the thing that you've been putting off because you've been scared to do it.
Yeah.
Do that thing first, and after, it's all a spiral. You'll be like, fuck, I feel good about myself.
Yeah. I always tell people that you have to build a reputation with yourself, which is linked with what you were saying. And the best way to do that is to keep the promises you made to yourself.
Yeah.
If you say you're going to do something, you do it. That's it. There's no other options. You have to burn all the ships. You have to leave the shore if you want to get to the island and you want to get the results. That's the way I see my life now. Every time I'm very careful with the words I say. And when someone asks me, are you going to do this? I always think before just being reactive, because here's the thing. This is what everyone does. They say like, oh, are you going to do this job? Yeah, I'll do it. And then they come home like, hey, you know what? I don't actually feel like it. And guess what? Your subconscious now is like, oh, I can't believe you, dude. Like, you just told me you were going to do that and now we're not doing it. And it starts like that. It's little things. Oh, tomorrow I'll go to the gym. 5 a.m. I'll wake up at 5 a.m. I'll do it. Guess what? You snooze. You don't go. And then your subconscious goes again. Holy shit, dude. Twice in a row. Okay. So when do I know when something is real or not? What is true from what is false? So in order to change that, you have to stick to your word. You have to be very crafty and careful when it comes to making decisions. Every time I started this challenge, so I'm posting twice a week on my personal Instagram account, and that's on top of running the podcast, my video production business, personal life, all this training, all this stuff. And before my mate told me, because I'm doing this with a friend, and he told me like, are we doing this? Like he was asking me, he needed an answer. And I said, give me just 5 minutes just to sit on it. Because as soon as I say yes, it's happening. Yeah. If I say no, it's not happening. But if I commit to it, there's no way around it. I'm going to make shit happen. Just like you said, you get shit done. It's the same. Like I love meeting people that they walk the walk and they talk the talk.
Yeah. It's super important, and it's good, and you'll soon get a reputation for yourself that he's a guy of his word.
Yes.
He says it's going to get done. Don't stress. It's going to get done. I'm the exact same. Like I messaged my mate last night, actually. I said, are we working out tomorrow morning? 7:45, let's be at the gym. He's like, okay. And all I did was I just hearted his response. I was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then this morning, I'm driving out, and he texts me, are we still on for this morning? I said, bro, I said, yeah. Yeah. That means nothing other than that. Yeah. And that it's so true. Like that's the world I live in. And I love what you said there. Like you took a second to think, because I'm the exact same. I will not say yes. Like, and I fucked myself up for a little bit doing this one a little while ago. So I used to be like, I'm going to be a yes man. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then I realized I overcommit.
Yes.
I have good intentions. I want to do this. I want to do that. Yeah. And I'm like, I just can't physically do it. Now I'm saying no to me. Yeah. And it's not good. So I just need to get really clear. But how I get really clear on what to say yes to and what to say no to is by my vision. Mm-hmm. So if it's in alignment with my vision, it's an easy yes. Yeah. If it's not in alignment, it's easy no. Perfect example. I just got offered. There was an opportunity to partner in this business running an island beach club. Mm-hmm. Now I was like, fuck yeah, because I put the idea out. I'm like, hey, let's turn this place into a freaking beach club. Mm. Like I could. This would be amazing. Like let's partner on yada yada. We got talking. They put a deal together. I looked at the percentage, the split that they wanted to give me, and I'm like, no, I want to renegotiate it. I want more. And they wouldn't budge. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm out then. Mm. And as soon as I made that decision out, I'm like, oh, I feel so good about that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why do I feel so good about that? Because that was, like I said at the start, the universe will throw us things to say, how serious are you about your future? Yeah. And the bigger your vision gets, the bigger the distractions are. Yeah. I just said no to a multiple 6-figure a year extra business minimum, what I would have been getting, right? Right? Because I was like, it's not in alignment. Yeah. It's not what I wanted, right? And I think back, if they really paid me what I wanted, maybe, like I'm grateful that they didn't want to budge, because maybe I would have took it, and maybe I would have realized, it's not in alignment. Yeah. I don't want this, even though it's a good opportunity. Yeah. A lot of other people would look at it and be like, why would you pass that down? Yeah. But I know my future self would be like, look back at me right now and say, don't worry about it. We've got it all covered up here.
Yeah.
Say no to that shit. It's all going to work out in the end. And that's what I trust. I look forward into the future. It's like, is this an alignment? Partnering on a beach club right now, it's just so out of my alignment. The brand, it's the, I'm all about helping people create an extraordinary life, not them getting fucked up and taking drugs. Of course, it's going to happen. It's on the Gold Coast. Yeah. And I'm like, this is a hard one for me to say yes to. Yeah. But I felt good about saying no to that because it wasn't in alignment with where I was ultimately going. But if I never knew where I was going, I'd say yes to every single thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. You need to understand and have clarity of your purpose, mission, vision, because then it's so much easier to say no to something, to say yes. Yeah. It's almost like the perfect filter to know. Sometimes it's difficult when, you present it because, like you said, you get distracted with the shiny object syndrome and all these things. And sometimes it's not even an obstacle or whatever. Sometimes it's just a great opportunity on the surface. But it has nothing to do to the kind of person and the individual that you want to become. And you have to have the courage to say no. There's so many things that you have mentioned that, like I'm just like thinking about them. I wanted to go back, but I'm like, oh, we need to move forward. You have spoke beautifully. And one of the things you said about the skydiving, I love that analogy because sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes it just takes 3-5 seconds of insane courage to do the jump, and you can get whatever you want in life. Sometimes that's all it takes. That one decision, that one little thing that you've been scared of for the longest time, that you've been second guessing yourself, that you felt like it wasn't for you. Sometimes it's just 3-5 seconds of believing, closing your eyes and taking the jump. And shit works out. It's crazy. I've seen, like, when I start breaking down my life, every time I try to study my life, when were, like, the pivotal moments? When were the moments where I wasn't doing things right? When did things took off? And why did they stop? Why did I lose the momentum? Like, I try to always study my life. And sometimes it all came down to one decision, to a milliseconds of just being brave enough and take the action and move forward, so be very careful with how you conduct yourself in your life, and as we were saying, keep your reputation as well. If someone says, like, okay, some people might be listening to us right now and he'll be like, okay, you're talking about your vision, purpose. How the fuck do I find that, right? Because a lot of people think it's very hard to find the purpose. I actually don't think it's that hard, but I want to hear your thoughts and what you have to say about it.
Yeah, well, look, I've created a 3-day program pretty much all about this called the Dream Out Loud Method, right? And the whole of day one is pretty much helping people discover this because I agree. It's very easy to discover it. It's actually really simple. But there's things that are usually blocking people from seeing the simplicity of it. And it's the past stories that they've created about themselves. Like our unconscious mind is from 0 to 7 years old. It's completely open. It's the imprint phase. So from 0 to 7, we're walking around as like a little sponge, sucking up everything. All our meaning of life, all our values, our beliefs, everything's been put in. From 7 to 14 is the modeling phase. So we look for what's life all about by our role models. Okay, and then the next one is 14 to 21 is the socialization phase. So who are we socializing with? The teenage years, all that sorts of shit. And we looked for like, well, what should we be doing? So what happens is by the time they get into their 20s, they're a little bit fucking confused because 0 to 7, they were probably learning things like I do what my parents do because that's who I'm around the most. And then from 7 to 14, they're like, well, I do what, Bart Simpson does or what Post Malone does or Nicki Minaj or because who are the role models they're listening to, and then later in their life, they're like, oh, all the people around them and blah, 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 blah. So they get to in their 20s and they're a little bit freaking confused with what is life all about? What do I do? So quite conflicted with all these different things. So I help you really not really destroy, but reframe and change these different stories that have been created unconsciously that are blocking them from seeing the simplicity of what their life's all about. Because I believe that every single person is born absolutely perfect in every single way. Sometimes people come and they're like, Morgan, I came to this event. I say, why did you come to this event? And they say, because I want to be fixed. So, well,
you're broken.
Yeah, I'm like, well, if you need to be fixed, that would imply that you're broken. Yeah. And I don't consider I'm not like a surgeon. I'm not gonna put you back together. I like to think of myself as more like a chiropractor. If you go to a chiropractor, you go to a chiropractor because your back's not broken. You see, because it's out of alignment. You get some adjustments, you get some critiquing, and boom, you're as good as new, and you go again. And that's what I like to help people do: see things from a perspective that they weren't seeing it from before, but then help them see their life from a different perspective again. So they start to shift these different things, but then they can start to unravel all the pieces and be like, well, what's my life about? What do I love? And this is really simple. You know, I look at the, because I did what you did. I reverse engineered my life. And all I did was pursued the things that I just liked, the things that give me joy. Because what I noticed was there's certain things in our life that give us joy, certain things that give us energy, and certain things that we'll spend our money on time and time and time again. For an example, you're sitting at home on a Friday night, 9 o'clock, and you're chilling, you're tired, you get to bed soon. Someone sends you a message, oi, you want to come out tonight? You're like, no, I don't know if I can come out tonight, I'm tired, blah, blah, blah. And then someone else sends you a message and you instantly got energy. Yeah, I'll come out with you. Let's go, yeah. Because whatever the relationship is you have with that person is something that's more important to you than what you had with the last person. Yeah. Maybe the conversations you have, maybe the relationship you have with them, right? It's more important for you. It gives you energy. But a second ago, you were like, I'm tired, but now I got energy. Yeah. So think of the things that actually, what fuels you? What gives you energy in life? What gives you energy? What takes you energy? Because the things that are not in our purpose, in our alignment, in our mission, will drain us. So if you come home for the end of work, like I wake up every single day. I kid you not, I like, and sometimes I'm guilty of this. I will skip my morning routine because I just want to fucking get to work. I'm like, I don't want to fucking meditate for 10 fucking minutes. I'm like, I'm gonna go now. Yeah. Right. But then sometimes I'm gonna chill for 2 hours and then get into work. But that's the thing, because it gives me energy. I don't like meditating and writing and shit. I know it's good for me, so I do it. But I'm like, right, I get it done because I know it's a good practice, it's a good habit. Okay. But I love what I do. Gives me energy. So as soon as I get home from this episode, I'm gonna be working again all tonight. I'm actually running an event tonight. We're running an event, sick. and then but I have to actually be conscious, be like, okay, I need to stop now and be with my partner or whatever, because it gives me energy. So we need to look at the things that give us energy, look at the things we spend our money on. That's what's important for us. When I did an analysis of that, I was like, well, I spend money on personal development a lot. I spend money on, teaching other people a lot, learning myself. Maybe I love teaching, I love learning. So the two most important things for me in life is learning and teaching. That's why I've created a life around learning and teaching. I'll do this all the time. I love it. And so people can really get clear on the things that they spend money on, the things that give them energy, the things that are just most important to them. And if they were to really be honest with themselves and check in and go, what is the consistent visualization or thought or dream I've just always had? I can remember back to the beginning of time. I would listen to music in the back seat of my parents' car with an MP3 player. Listen to music and visualize me just playing and performing on stage. Yeah. Now I suck at all musical instruments. Yeah. But look how it's transmuted. I've now spoken to crowds of up to 6,000 people.
That's awesome.
4 or 5 countries around the world. It's manifested into me being a speaker, still an entertainer. I don't play music, I don't sing, but I do the other things that I love, right? Because I tapped into that. I'm like, that's what I've always thought about. That's what I really want. And so I think if people really just take a look at me, like, what are the things I just genuinely love? And then bring it into the Ikigai. Everyone talks about Ikigai, and I'm not going to try and steer away from it because I think it's amazing. Like, it's been proven that some of the oldest living people in the whole world come from this little tiny town in Japan, and they believe that one of the keys to their old age is living a life in your Ikigai, which is a combination of the things that you love doing, the things you're good at, the things the world needs, and something you can get paid for doing. If you can find a combination of that, you'll live an incredible, purposeful life. Now you get to look at it and go, how much money do I want to make? I was having a conversation with somebody this morning, and I was talking about his girlfriend. He goes, like she's making 300 grand a year or something. And she's like, but this other person, she's making like $1 million a year. I said, so what? I said, does she want to make $1 million? And she's like, I don't think, not really. I said, she still made $300,000 this year. A lot of entrepreneurs get into the trap of wanting to hit the $1 million a year limit. And if I ask them, why you want to hit it? They go, I don't know. For deep down, it's the entrepreneur's invisible worthiness scale. Now they hit $1 million in a year. They go, now I'm good enough to be an entrepreneur. Fuck that, man. Look, what is the life you want to live? Because I'm all about life by design. And then some of the people, you need to make as much money as you can. Yes and no. I think you should make a lot of money because inflation, everything's changing. You should make a lot of money. But look at the quality of life you want to live. How much money do you need to make to live that quality of life, and amplify it a bit more and go and find a way to create that. It doesn't have to be about millions. It doesn't have to be all this. But I would suggest to do like not poverty. If you get the combination of those four things and go, well, how can I make a shitload of money doing this? You'll probably enjoy the journey a lot more if you make it getting paid a lot more for it as well.
Yeah. If you had to start all over again, how would you start? We're talking to someone that has maybe $100 in his bank account. He has nothing. It's 2023. What would you do to become a millionaire again?
I'll give you two answers for this one. First one, I'll do this year. We literally just started a brand new business. We haven't put $1 into it. I started with my contacts, an idea and skills that I already had. So we started a podcast agency. We've already got a very successful podcast. I've got hundreds and hundreds of pieces of content a month. They get distributed on all my platforms, automated, completely set up. I've got something that a lot of other people would want. So I'm like, let's turn this into a business. So bing, boom, boom. We just like fucking bang. Started talking to people, started putting things together. And we've literally just did 1 month into the year. And I don't want to make up shit here, so let me think for a second how much we've made. It's we've probably done just under $100,000 already in their first month. Right? So I would do that. So what did I do for that? I looked at what am I really good at? What am I good at that other people would probably suck at? That people would pay me to learn it from me. Yeah. And that's the world we're living in right now. People, online education, online this sort of stuff. What are you good at that other people would be like, man, they would pay you to shortcut their process? Yeah. That's exactly what we did. We started this, online, we started the podcast agency. So that's the first thing. Okay. Second thing, so if the people listening to this going, but I don't have a podcast, so I can't do what you did. Okay. What I'd probably do is, if there's no time limit on it, I would go and find people that are fucking killing it. And
it's so funny that you're saying that. I was telling it. Continue. I'll tell you what I told my mate.
I would go and get around them, and I'd start networking, and I'll tell them, hey, I'm starting from scratch, just where I'm at, and I would find probably one of these people that inspire me the most of what they're doing, and ask them, can I work for you for like free? I'd probably cut a deal. Let's say if we 5 people, one of them are doing a really purpose-driven business I love, and I'm like, fuck, I love that. I'd love to do something like that, but I got no idea how to do it. I'm going to go to him and I'm going to say, hey, I really love what you're doing. I'm really passionate about what you're doing as well. And how can I help support you? Can I work for you for free for the next 2 weeks? And if you love me and you can see that I'm fucking good, I'll just appreciate a minimum wage job with you. I just want to help. I want to get around people that are killing it. I guarantee you they'd probably say, fuck yeah. Because me as an employer, if I had someone come to me with passion, I understand that you can't teach passion, you can teach skill. So if I had somebody say, I want to work for you for what you're doing, I would say, come on board and we can teach you skills. I would do that to get around. Like if I wanted to own a McDonald's store, I would go get a job as a McDonald's employee. And I would learn the systems. I would learn the back end. I would learn it all instead of trying to figure it out on my own. I'd do it while I'm getting a job. It's probably the best way to figure things out.
Yeah. And I was telling my mate, so we were talking about, because I've always known since day one that I'm meant to be the person at the front. I've always known since I saw the first time. I remember the first time I saw a YouTuber, Casey Neistat, making a video, and it blew my mind. It was that one moment where I realized, holy shit, this guy's making money by talking to a camera, and I just knew like that at some stage that will manifest in some way in my life by taking the correct action steps into it. That I've always known I will be the face of it kind of thing. I know I have all the skills and everything it takes to be in front of people just like you're doing and all these things. I've envisioned myself many times as well being in front of a stage, talking to a bunch of people, just telling them how did I become the person that I'm gonna become. So but then he started asking my friend like, okay, what would be a different option if you didn't knew that? I'm like, I will find someone like me. There's a bunch of people out there like me that they don't have a right man hand. They don't have that second person that can take care of things that are just painful to them, that takes away their energy, that takes their time. And I would just find out, I will add to what you said, on top of offering working for free, because we get that a bunch of times, like people saying like, oh, can I work for you? Can I just help you with Vice Creative, maybe our video production company and all these things? And it's actually a hassle for me to bring someone to work for free. Like if they don't know what they're doing, they're just taking valuable information from us and we're not really getting that much in return. I don't really need someone to carry the bags. So if I was that person, I would see who's the guy that I want to work with? Is it Morgan? Okay, let me study Morgan. What is he doing? Where are the holes? Because we all have different holes in our game in what we're doing, that things that could improve to get to the next level. So I will spot, okay, Morgan has an issue with YouTube right now. So I will come and then offer the service for free. And I will say like, hey, Morgan, I noticed this, and that. I can help you get to the next level. I will do it for free. I will do this. And start, because then I'm like, okay, you're not just, because I know you will want to learn from me. You know you will teach valuable things for that person. So it's like, oh, okay, he wants to learn, but he's actually giving me something valuable in return. Because every relationship in your life is a value exchange. From your parents to your girlfriend to your mates, everything is a value exchange. So if I had to start from completely scratch, I'll find someone like me right now. It's so easy to learn some basic skills of video editing, learning some marketing, learning some sales, and even doing back-end stuff. That it's so annoying.
It's so true, because like literally if I had somebody slide in my DMs right now, and they're like, yo, I'm a fucking beast at systems, automations, operations, and I'm looking to be an intern or something like that. I'm like, bro, come have a chat with me. Because right now, we were talking before the starter, right? It's like I'm a creative, I'm a visionary. I get shit done, happening.
Yes.
I'm really good at starting things. I need someone to help integrate them.
Yes.
Right? And I've got an EA now. Right, but like I'm still looking for like someone who could really. So if I had someone who's like, I'm really good at this, and I want to come in, and I would very happily entertain the conversation of how we can make that happen. But it's crazy. Most people don't. Perfect example is, through one of my events, I had a student come into into the events, and he came and did all of my programs after. And he comes up to me. He's a video editor. He's a videographer, and he comes up and he's like, dude, can I come and shoot some content stuff for you, like for free? I just want to get around you more. And I'm like, fucking oath, bro. Yeah. And then I was like, I will pay you. So we still worked out a deal where I'm like, you can come to all my event stuff for free and blah, blah, blah. And we worked out some sort of payment. That guy's now my business partner.
And you see, and he was smart, because he noticed that, okay, this guy needs videos. I can offer that for free. Guess what? On top of that, he's getting access to your event. So he's getting to be mentored by you.
So it was really interesting how it all happened. And I messaged him one day. I'm like, I'm really proud of you for what you've done, because out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that have come to my events, he's the only one I've actually reached out. I want to get around you more. I want to add value. I want to do things. Because what happened was he started videoing for me. Then we were recording a podcast interview one day together. He was doing my video. And then what happened was I was interviewing somebody, and then we were talking about having a poker game together, organizing a poker that night. So I said to Jack, because he was just there, I'm like, we're doing poker at my house tonight. You want to come? Like with a very exclusive group of people. And like the table of people that were playing poker was worth probably more than $100 million. Yeah, right. Very exclusive fucking poker table. And I'm like, you want to come play? He's like, yeah, sure. He comes and plays. From that night, he got many other connections, and he also joined my mastermind that I'm a part of. Yeah. By being there as well. Yeah. All right, so he was able to join my mastermind. We're able to do business together, and he's gotten clients from the mastermind, everything now. And it's just, I'm so proud of you for doing what you've done, because you get it. You're cutting success. You're adding value to people that you want to be around, because you know it's going to open more doors for you. And look how many doors it's opened for him, and he deserves every single thing he's had. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I told someone recently, the biggest thing you could do to fast track your way to success is to get around people that are doing 100%. The kind of shit that you want to be doing. If you can get in the same room as those people and provide value to them, I guarantee you will get 10 times faster than by doing it by yourself.
Yep. I teach the 4 pillars of creating a dream life, right? So my 3-day event, the Dream Out Loud method, is completely breakdown, 38 hours, right? 38 hours across 3 days of content and delivery. It's a behemoth of an event. And it's really built off the 4 pillars of creating a dream life. And the first one is having the right environment. Like, we've got to have the right environment, both the right internal environment and the right external environment. And why this is important is because the people that we surround ourselves with will literally pull us down to their standard of living, or they'll grab us and rise us up to their standard. But we'll very quickly, like a thermostat, right? If the air conditioner is set to 25 in this room, you open the door, it's going to quickly pump it and bring the temperature back down, right? And vice versa. That's what the environment does. It brings you up to the standard of what they're living at. Now, the question is, what thermostat do you want to be at in your life?
Yes.
And this really hit home for me because when I moved to Mexico, moved to Bali in the States, we traveled for about 4 years and came back here at COVID. Came back here, got around a bunch of the people that I was surrounded with before I left, and I looked around, I was like, these people are doing the same shit. This is fucked. I need to find, like, who else on the Gold Coast is killing it? And I met some other people, and I got invited onto this yacht party. It was like a Wednesday. Hey, Morgs, you want to come to this yacht party? It's this dude, Sean's 21st birthday. And he's hired a yacht. I'm like, fucking, tell me. And it's 21st birthday, and he's also celebrating making his first $1 million a year. I'm like, he's 21, yacht on a Wednesday, $1 million a year. Yeah, get me on that yacht, bro. Let's check this out. Yeah. And we get there, and everyone's dressed up, everyone's having fun. And I'm sitting around this table having a conversation. I'm listening in. Because this is also the thing. If I'm around people that want to be like, I don't talk. I listen. I'm like, well, I need to absorb this shit.
Yes.
And the funniest thing was happening. You see, back in my old circles, there was banter. Like, oh, taking the piss out of each other. I can't believe you're doing this. I don't know. There's always banter. I got into this group, and for a reason I thought, there's no banter anymore. There's, people more mature, they're successful. That was totally wrong. There was so much banter still. They're taking the piss out of each other, but this is what they were saying. One of the guys they were talking about, so they go, Jules, how much are you making now? Like, what's your business at? And he goes, oh, about 40 grand a month now. And the other dude, Sasha, he looks at him and goes, 40 fucking hours. He's like, dude, when are you going to stop being a pussy and hurry up and get to 100K? He's like, when you hurry up? He's like, and then the other goes, fuck 100. You still boys are 100. He's like, when are you guys going to stop playing with the girls? I can get to 200 to 300K months. Like, what's going on? And I'm listening. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. They're taking the piss out of each other by being like, I can't believe you're only making $40,000 a month. I can't believe you're only making $100,000 a month. Now, people listening to this and be like, what? What dicks? But no, because they're saying, motherfucker, stop fucking around.
Yeah.
Our standard around here is minimum $1 million a year. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I heard that, I'm like, that's wild.
Yeah.
And I loved it, right? Because every single time we're around these people, we're always talking about growth and business, and it's very normal. It's very normal to be like, hey, how was last month? Oh, it was a shit month. We only did 200 grand. It's like, it's a shit month, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And it takes that kind of exposure to raise your standards and raising what is normal, right? Because it's like you were saying, I had a similar, when I was younger, I had a similar experience with life. You would look at someone that will have a lot of money. Like I was in a school where I was one of the poorest kids in there, and like all my friends had so much money. And every time I was just like envious, and be like, why do they get to do this? Every time I ask my dad for this or that or whatever, he says no. And he tells me to tell my friends that his dad is broke. That's one thing that my dad always was telling me. You go tell your friends that your dad is broke. That's why you don't have the best phone, the clothes, all these things. And eventually, I switched the mindset. Eventually, something clicked. And until you have that click of like, wait. I shouldn't be criticizing these people. I shouldn't be envious. I should be asking questions. How did you get that? How did you get that? And then I was finding out, okay, these guys will never become anything because everything is handled by their parents. So they're used to like being fed by mom and daddy to to have those things. But then eventually you start meeting people like, oh, I have my business. And it's normal for them. And eventually it became normal like, oh, so if I start asking questions, success leaves clues. Mm-hmm. So I can understand how to manifest those things into my life. And then you start meeting millionaires and people with financial freedom, and you start hearing these crazy numbers that if you will tell any doctor, any engineer that's making maybe 150, 200K a year or whatever, they'll be like, what? And having, the freedom to go traveling, to do this, to do whatever they want, go surfing on the week, all these things. And I agree with you. Like, it doesn't take that much to get financial freedom. If you're managed to keep what I call the freedom gap, you know, if you keep your expenses very low and you understand how much you actually need to keep the lifestyle that you want for now and continue to raise how much you earn, eventually that freedom gap is so big that it doesn't matter if you don't make that much money, you're still so under it that you have playful time. You still can allow yourself to do all the things.
Yeah.
So
well, the most important thing about money is not how much money people make. The most important thing about money is how they make the money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's different types of income streams. We've got an active income, which is what 95% of the world only know about. I go to work, I get paid.
Mm-hmm.
I get paid a salary, I come home, that's it. I spend it, it's gone again. Next week, I go to work, I get paid, come home, spend it. That's it. If you're making $150,000 a year by going to a job, that's not financial freedom. If your expenses are only 50, that's not financial freedom, because you won't get paid if you don't go to that job. That's called financial success.
Yeah.
If you're making good money, 3, 4, 5K a week, that's good money. You consider that's financially successful. Maybe have a new car, got the dinner, Japanese A5 Wagyu steak for dinner, whatever you want, right? But financial freedom is when the type of money you make comes in without you having to work.
Mm-hmm.
It's either coming in through really set up cash flow through a big operating business which runs without you, or it's coming in residually, right? So a residual income is what I first created, where you get paid long after the work you did has been done. So think about writing a book, musicians, actors, you know, the cast from Friends, they get paid so much money still when the episodes are played, right? Britney Spears made that horrible song, Hit Me Baby One More Time, 40,000 years ago. Every time it's played, she gets paid still. Yeah. That's residual income. What I did in my network marketing business is residual income. But then we have passive income from, you know, investing in property, if it's cash flowing, stocks, all these sorts of things. See, people, I think, neglect the types of money that they also don't learn about that. So I love you talking about, you know, creating that, understand that gap. But what the people really didn't get clear on is the type of money that comes in, right? Because I've set things up, and what happened is, like, I don't even think I'm financially free anymore, because my cost of lifestyle is just fucking 10x. Like, my lifestyle is expensive now.
How much are you spending a month?
A month, I'd say it's like operating business and my life and everything's probably like 15 or 16 grand a month now.
15. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it'd probably be something like that. I don't even have the exact numbers. But it'd be somewhere between, the ballpark of 15 to 20K, I'd say, a month. But before, when it was just me operating my business, everything was outsourced and I was just living in Mexico. Fuck, I only needed $300 a week to live. Yeah. Living in a beachfront place in Mexico, and it was sick. But for me, that was great. Yeah. But then I was, then I got that business to making a few grand. I think my highest week ever was maybe 12 grand or something like. So it's still some pretty gangster money. But eventually, that still pays me every single week. Not 12 grand a week anymore, but it still pays me money. Still pays for lots of shit every single week. But now all my other income's gone up. We've got cash flow, we've got recurring revenue, we've set up the company, we've set up the business, and now we're really setting up to go, how can this run without Morgan? And that's what we're really doing. And we're pretty freaking close to that. But I've also thought, I don't ever want to stop. Well, I love the business. I love it all.
How long did it take you to make your first million?
I made my first million last year, so 28. So, but now it would, like, we would have done over. Oh fuck, have we done? I don't know how much we've done now, right? But I'm 29 now. All I remember is, like, we had a rough look at it all. It was probably somewhere between early last year to maybe the year before. Probably would have ticked over about the first mil. But that's all well and good. That's cool. But the coolest thing about it is the last 7 years of my life or whatever, the amount of freedom I've had while creating that's what's really cool. Yeah. Because I know people that have made money earlier and whatever, and I could have made a lot more sooner, but I lived in Bali. I was on a plane like every 6 weeks on average for about 4 years straight. Just get new country, new place, new city, new event, here, just traveling, exploring life while doing all that. And I created the life that I wanted. And same as even last year, we had multiple 6-figure year last year, but I took nearly 4 months off and traveled Europe. Now, like, and we'll surpass $1 million in the new company. We'll surpass $1 million this month, actually, right? And so not with the agency, with my events company. We'll do $1 million cumulatively since starting, which was November year before last. So about 14 months to do our first mil. So obviously I've been able to speed shit up because right? But the coolest thing that I don't tell people, like, don't look at me like, oh, it's cool. Look at the fact that I've been able to create that success while having so much freedom as well. Because a lot of people think that you can't have it both, which is total bullshit.
What are the different ways that you're making money right now? What are all your revenue streams?
We've got network marketing still pays me. I've got shares and stocks that pays me. We've got all of our events, right? So we've got multiple different event income streams that come in. So we run multiple different events. So people just come and buy online randomly. So I don't really know what you want to call it. Let's just call it one. From the events company. Then we've got the podcast company. I did count the other day. There was one more. I think I counted 5 the other day. Or maybe I was thinking it's going to be 5. We're about to start investments, property and stuff. And maybe I was thinking when we get that going, it'll be the 5th, not just like little one, but steady cash flow. So the other ones all, like network marketing comes in without me. Shares come in without me. We sell some online shit. They're the 2 main ones that really come in without me touching it ever. The other ones I still operate and do.
Is the events the main source of income?
Yeah.
What, with all the information you have right now, if you could go back to your 20, 21-year-old, what would you tell him 3 pieces of advice to make his life better, get financial freedom faster, or even making $1 million faster, and just living a life that is fulfilling to him?
First thing I would say is stop caring what other people think of you a lot sooner. It took me years to really stop that. Like really just go, I genuinely don't give a fuck what you think. So I'd start doing that a lot sooner. This is a conflicting one because I often say to my friend who me and him used to party hardcore. And we often say to each other now, because we're both making a lot of money, and we say, dude, I'm so freaking glad we got all that out of the way back then when we didn't have much money. Because if we had that now, we'd be able to put in rehab, man. like if we had the money we have now back then, it would have been really dangerous. We would have done stupid shit. Like really stupid shit, you know? And we would have just blown it all. So it all works out perfectly. You know, so I often do talk about that. But, you know, let's say without the whole cliche, everything happens for a reason and blah, 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 because it absolutely perfectly has. Because now we make this money and we have no urge to go and be a psychopath traveling and just do wild shit that you do when you're in your young 20s, right? So I don't have the urge anymore because I'm like, man, we did it well. Like, we didn't just do it, we fucking did it well. Like, really good. Like, we've traveled at nearly 50 countries. Like, it's been really good. But I would say to sort of go back and get clear on your values. And I would actually just change his values because back then it was really about just fun and seeking approval, escaping. A lot of the things I did back then were vices. The travel was a vice. Drugs and alcohol was a vice. The partying was a vice. Women were a vice. It was all of that to stop me from really going internally and being okay with loving myself properly and like just enjoying all that. So I think all the things I was doing back then was sort of prove something, get this external validation. So I'd probably go back and change some shit there for him if I was to want to create success at a younger age. But at the same time, like, you know, it's an interesting thing. I don't know if you feel this. It's like at one hand, you sort of want to be super successul right now and have everything right now. And the other hand, you're also very okay with it not, because the journey is more important than the end destination. And that's I think about that quite a bit, you know. So that's why I've always sort of balanced between going, I've since really on this journey since you know 22, 23, I've never struggled for money since. Like, I've always had enough to live a great quality life. And I think that's like, well, what would be the difference back then if I made another $500,000 that year or not? Probably quite a bit, but you know, so I'm not sure if that'd be a hell of a lot of change, but yeah, those few things.
And what advice would you give specifically for someone trying to become a millionaire? What's the best single advice you can give in terms of money?
Terms of money. Okay, I'll give you the terms of money, but first, a kid came up to me at my last event. I was in Sydney speaking. He was young. I can't remember, 23, 22, something like this. And he goes, man, last year I was so fucking close to making my first $1 million. I made like 700 grand or some shit. He's young. I'm like, that's incredible, bro. What happened? He's like, I worked so hard to put myself in hospital. I'm like, well, that's stupid. He's like, how's the business going now? He's like, it's gone. I destroyed it because I couldn't do it anymore. I'm like, oh, so you got any money left? Not really. So it wasn't really, what was the point of doing all that then? And I'm like, why were you wanting to make $1 million? He's like, oh, don't know. But that's the reason. You burnt yourself out, legitimately burnt himself out, like fucking nearly killed himself, trying to chase a goal, which was actually trying to pursue self-worth. He's trying to get approval from the outside world, the validation. Like, see, I'm young, I'm successful. See, mum, see, dad, I told you, school, whatever. And because I hear a lot of the time, and how I first learned this was why $1 million. Now millions and beyond is definitely my goals. But for so long, literally up until year before last, it wasn't a goal. I didn't care about the $1 million because I worked out what's the life I want to live. I want to drive this car, live in this place, donate this much money to charity, go on these types of holidays, save this much, invest this much, blah, blah, blah. I worked it out. It was $11,000 a week. That's half. That's about $500,000 a year. Now, imagine if I was trying to push so hard to make that extra. Like, the difference between $500,000 and $1 million a year is a fucking lot. So why would you do that if you don't need it, if you don't want it? So I got really clear on how much do you actually need? What's your dream life really cost you? Then go and hit that goal. So it might not even be $1 million. And nearly everyone, I don't think I've ever actually met somebody who goes, yeah, actually, I was right. I need $1 million. Like, nearly every time it comes under $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. Because that's a lot of money. You know a lot of cool shit. You know a really cool life still with that money. Like, the people just don't get it. They follow the lifestyle on Instagram and it's just all stupid. But anyway, back to that. Let's say if legitimately they're like, yeah, $1 million is my goal. Look, there's a million ways to make money. And I have this conversation with my girlfriend because she's like, we need to get property. I said, why do you want to do property? She goes, let's buy houses and flip it. I said, I'll tell you right now, I have zero interest in doing that. She goes, yeah, but you can make so much money doing it. I said, I don't give a fuck. I can make a lot of money doing a million things. I'm going to pursue the things that I get enjoyment out of, things that I'm passionate about. Because if I'm passionate about getting better at that craft, and I'm passionate about how you can become really good at that thing, I'll way more likely succeed doing that than I would flipping property if I don't give a fuck about flipping property. I don't care about it. Yeah, you can make good money, but I'm not wired that way. I just don't care. I don't care. So I would focus on the things. What's the industry? What's the vehicle? So you need to find the right vehicle for you. It's the second pillar, by the way, right? Right environment, the right vehicle, the right timing, and the right you. You need to find the right vehicle. Something that's I think you should pursue something that's fulfilling for you because you'll be more motivated, more inspired every day to actually get to work on that thing and get better at that thing, which will increase your chances of making the millions of dollars. So that's what I would say, right? Pursue something that's actually fulfilling for you. Now, let's say if someone is lazy as, and they're like, I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to be an entrepreneur. Cool. Go to the stock market. Invest. Oh, I can't. It's not financial advice. I'll tell you what I would do. So what I would do, I'm not telling you to do it, but what I would do, if I wanted to do the super laziest way ever, I would invest money into the S&P 500, which is the Vanguard, all right? Top index fund, top 500 companies in USA, or the top 500 companies here in Australia, one of the Vanguards, and I'll just put monthly payments into that over and over and over and over and over. Because if you can literally get to $25,000 invested in that before the age of 25, and then you never put another dollar in for the rest of your life in, that 25 grand will compound over the next 40 years to over $1.3 million. Now that's cool, but the $1.3 million pays you a dividend of approximately 6% a year. So now you're making about $75,000, $80,000 a year in passive income. So you have $1 million asset getting paid from the asset. That's real financial freedom. Now, people might not want to take 40 years to do it, so you can always put more money in. I said if you got the 25K, then stopped investing. But you asked if I wanted to hit $1 million and do it the lazier way, I'd probably just go there.
What's the best advice in general that you have ever received?
Don't take advice from broken, unhappy people.
What's the worst?
The worst advice? I want to say, do what makes you happy.
That's terrible advice.
I was sitting at a table the other day. I was sitting at a table the other day with 4 people. 2 of them were in the army. One of them was ex-army. And they were all like, "Yeah, I'm fucking hot. I'm in the army."
Yeah.
There's one kid was 18 years old, and he was talking about, I'm in the army because we have a good retirement and good superannuation and all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, bro, okay, so you're clearly thinking about money, thinking about your exit. You're 18. If you want some advice from me, I started telling him about the stock market. I said, invest and blah, 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 blah. You can do this by 25. You get 25 grand, blah, blah, blah. You'll be a fucking millionaire by 30, bro, if you do this properly. And he's like, oh, yeah. I said, you want to write that down? I literally told you how you can become a millionaire in the next decade. Probably advice you want to take. He's like, and then the other guy next to me goes, nah, man, just do what makes you happy, bro. I'm like, and I looked at him. I looked at him, and he's in his 40s, right?
Yeah.
We're all skydiving together. He was in his 40s.
Yeah.
Right? Divorced.
Unhappy. Completely unhappy.
Divorced. Going skydiving just because, I don't really know what else to do. I just got some time off. Like, to fill a void in his life.
Yeah.
Unfulfilled,
Yeah.
unhappy. How's that working out for you, bro?
Yeah.
Like, you're not wrong. Unfortunately, that's probably a story he picked up from his parents.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy. And he followed that. And,
Yeah.
we're on this podcast to talk about creating extraordinary lives, not mediocrity.
Yeah.
I think, don't take advice from broken, unhappy people. Don't take advice from people that, aren't living the life that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And, the worst advice, I'm sure there's going to be worse than that. If I think of it, I'll send it to you. But the first one come to mind was do what makes you happy.
Yeah, you can't act on on feelings. And happy, I think a lot of people misunderstand what happiness actually
people think
is.
happy is comfort. Well, that's what because what's happy right now is what's easy, and that's why it's stupid.
Yes.
All right, like create it. Do what's inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Big difference.
I'm stoked right now. I'm happy that I'm meeting and getting to know another human that's pursuing extraordinary things.
Yeah.
So happiness, I think a lot of people just like picture happiness as like me being smiling all the time, and it's like not really. Happiness is just a state. It's a mindset as well because I genuinely believe that you have the choice of waking up and make yourself happy. If you start looking at your life and be like, okay, I get to live in a place, particularly, I came from Venezuela. I get to live in a place like Australia where, we have security, we can make money, everything's fine, people are great to others, there's no that much racism and that type of stuff. Like, it's a great country to me. Like, just by that, and I have my 2 arms, my 2 legs, I'm healthy, I'm smart, I'm young. Like, that already makes me stoked. I'm happy. I'm ready to attack the day. So, yeah, I think you have to reframe in the perspective of what happiness is, and just being happy is not enough. That's nothing. Anyone can be happy. I know people back home in Venezuela that just get to eat rice once a day and they're happy because that's all they know. They don't know any better. Same in the Philippines, same in Bali, same in all these other countries. And then suddenly you meet someone in a country like Australia that has money, has everything all those people could ever want, and they're unhappy. So yeah, but well, happiness is another deep subject. Brother, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed this conversation. We'll certainly have to do a round 2 eventually.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, hear more about you, attend to your events?
Yeah, best place to find me is on Instagram at Morgan T. Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan T. Nelson. Everything is on there. I reply to all my DMs. You can hit me there if you got any other questions from this podcast. All my events and stuff are in the bio to my on my Instagram. I don't know when's this podcast being released.
It's gonna be like 2 weeks or so, 2-3 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, maybe my events have just been missed, but I usually there'll be something happening. If you go on my bio, I've always got stuff happening. But at Morgan T. Nelson, hit me there. Or my podcast is called Dream Out Loud. We've got nearly 200 episodes. We've interviewed people like Les Brown, Cohen Ray, Dr. John Demartini, Mark Victor Hansen, some of the greatest gods in the world in personal development, and heaps of fire value on there as well. So they're the 2 best places for me. Instagram at Morgan T. Nelson, Dream Out Loud podcast.
please, I guarantee a lot of you got a lot of value today from this man. Please go follow him because I've checked his stuff. He's legit, fully legit. That's the first thing I told my mate today. This guy is legit. I'm excited to have this conversation. Thanks for coming today. As always, make sure to follow us at The Creative Grid. I'm at Nelfalive on Instagram, and we'll see you on the next episode. Goodbyes for everyone. You.
Boom.
How was that?
Legend. That's great. I'm dying in here though. I'm so hot.
It gets pretty hot. Eh? Yeah, sorry about